Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and episode 2 of How to Draw. So today we're going to do something different to the first episode. We are drawing a lemur. So this is just a basic shape. It's not very much defining shape to the lemur, so the reference is linked down below in the description box. But we're going to play around a bit with using our paper stumps, graphite powder and our erasers to create kind of the sketch. Obviously you're going to use a pencil for the basic outlines, and then we're going to get a bit messy, really. So I thought this would be a bit fun and show a different way to do sketching. I've done this before for a little Arctic fox and I quite enjoyed it. So using an HB pencil for the initial outlines, you can use any pencil you want. And this is the Fabriano Academia journal. You can use any paper you'd like. If you've got a sketch journal, even printing paper would work absolutely fine. So I'm just going to give my pencil a quick sharpen. We're going to get the blob down, and obviously the eyes will be the most important part. It's got some hands, you can see some of its hands, but the most important thing will be we're playing around a bit with the powders and the paper stumps. So we're going to start with the face first, and we're going to start with kind of just a basic blob. So I've never actually done a realism drawing of a lemur before, or any type of ape or monkey. So this is new to me, but it's got fur, it's got eyes, it's got a tail. I would say that's pretty much in my wheelhouse. So as usual, like I said with the bulldog, if you want to see this in a full-on realism tutorial, just let me know down in the comments. I think this one would be quite fun, but I can also one day maybe decide that I'd like to do it myself. So I've got the basic head shape in with the ears. There's not much really to look at, so hopefully it kind of makes sense. And then obviously you've got the different colored fur to help you out somewhat, and then the nose, of course. So this will be somewhat trial and error because we've got no real reference point. So I'm just looking at the shapes of the hands, and then obviously what it is and how it is in relation to all the other facial markings. And hopefully I get it right the first time. So the most important thing that you would have to take note of first is whether or not you get your angles correct. So like the bulldog, everything kind of works in this motion, and this is why this side of the face kind of is my reference point, because you've got the darker fur right next to it and you can see the angle that everything kind of follows with it. Since we've got the ear in, you see it lines up with the side of the mouth, so we've got that down, and then obviously in between the space you've got your eyes, and then here you've got this general. So I'm looking at the white marking in the middle of the face to get the shape down. should be slightly narrower. So we'll just narrow it out a little bit. So this eye that's on the right side is slightly lower than this eye on the left, which is the larger, most in view. So we're gonna kind of get this one in first. I'm first looking at the black surrounding the eye, just to get the general shape down, and this has got somewhat of a round shape to it. So what's tricky with this is you've got no reference points to see whether or not your eyes are the correct size, are the correct shape. All I kind of know, it has to be, can't be wider than this bottom part of the muzzle. So we've got that. Quite pleased with that little round shape. And obviously we can play around a bit with the eyes as well. So the tail obscures most of the lemur, and it also follows, almost looks like a caterpillar. So I'm just going to get this in, and then just the body. It's actually very cute. I think this would be quite a fun little challenge. And then you've got your log, obviously, which you can use as a different type of angle because it doesn't run straight. Kind of does follow that kind of angle and line. So we've got the body of the lemur, kind of looks the way it's supposed to look, I think. So we know your first ring sits there where the hands are. Your second one is in line with the muzzle. And you can use this very much to know if your tail is the right length. And you'll see that this one lines up with this side of the body. Our second ring, from the side, it follows kind of the shape. And then obviously it fades out towards the end here. And these two are quite close. Got some of the arm there. So we've got a lemur, we've got the basic shape of our tail, we know where our eyes are, and we've got our muzzle in as well. So we are going to go in, I'm going to take a very dirty blending stump. If you don't have one, just take powder, tap off the excess, and then kind of build up to where we are going. So I'm going to focus on the non-white areas of the animal first and fill that in. Here it's a lot lighter grey, so I'm going to start harder pressure on this side and then lightly fill in the rest. Then we've got our muzzle. Black around the eye. And we've got our rings as well. And you can see just how quickly a blob becomes not a blob. That's why these kind of very furry animals are some of your easier ones to sketch if you've got your angles and your reference points. So now I'm gonna, to my very dirty blending stump, I'm gonna add more powder. And I'm gonna add more depth to the more darker grey areas. Start giving our shapes some definition. Didn't do anything to the hands because they are of the lighter areas, and I'm also going to go into our rings. There we go. Very simple, very easy. So I'm going to go back with my HB. Go right up close. So now I'm going to focus on the eyes first. So let's just clean up that shape. Here you can add in the highlights as well. I mean, would be a great addition. And I think this would benefit definitely from a very dark pencil right at the end. Definitely will help with everything in that regard. So I'm just gonna give my little mono eraser a clean. Add in our little eye highlights. And you, like with most drawings, you're going to have to just reinforce it as you go along. And then also our little eye highlight down there. So I'm just going to pop in with a 5B. Give it a nice sharpen. Really just, because we're sketching, this is all about having some fun. Add in your depth. And then also you can just play around with the eye as well. So we've got a eye. And then I'm just going to use the 5B on this side as well. So then just on the bottom there. Back in with my HB pencil. This eye is obscured by lashes and everything. Okay, very simple and very easy, quick. So let's do a little wash of powder over everything. This will seem counterproductive, but you've got to kind of just trust the process here. And this is all about having some fun. So, mono eraser. I'm going to start with our eyes first, obviously, because they're where our brightest highlights are. And there you can really see it pop. So now we're going to just use this mono eraser to start kind of, you can use any type of eraser you've got lying around. Any one at all. So sketching very much isn't just pencils only. You can play around with any of your tools. And this is a very fun exercise to kind of work on just quickly creating a fur texture. This type of exercise will very much help in that regard, as you've got to quickly just show direction, show shape, show some depth. Well, we won't create a lot of depth necessarily with this, but very similar principle in the fact that you've got to kind of get in, get out very quickly. You don't have the time. You can obviously spend a lot of time on this as you'd like, but since this is less than an hour aimed tutorial, you're going to kind of learn to do it quickly and effectively. With some pencils, but mostly just powders. So I'm constantly changing the direction that my mono eraser is going. And let's take else. You can use your smallest blending stump for this that you have available. Just gonna add some powder and add some depth back in. Obviously we're going to have to use our pencils at some point. But just playing around. Kind of also using it to start making our rings a little bit less straight, a little bit more organic looking. There we go. Let's go in, I'm gonna go back in with my 5B. Very light pressure. We're gonna start to just, and obviously this fur is quite almost stippling, it almost has a stippling effect. That is gonna, it's a lot, acts a lot different, especially in the darker areas. It's gonna be, it's a bit different than the white fur. But we're gonna kind of follow that same principle ever so slightly. Once you've got your eye in and you're pleased with the way it looks, I think kind of the hardest part is done. Well, sort of. But you've now got your focus point. Makes sense. There we go. So we've got eyes. The lemur looks like it's focusing on something. It's got a shape. And just using this 5B and also the texture it creates on the surface of the paper to help add some texture as well. So into our little rings. So this is very out of focus, but not to worry, you can kind of still see the way it behaves and moves. And obviously the more depth you add, the more your highlights will start to stand out and make sense. Actually, very cute little lemur. I am quite enjoying this. Actually, sometimes just fun to draw something completely out there that you've never done before. very cute. There we go. So now I'm going to use a blending stump, add some powder, and start just shading in some more of the spaces. And because we've put down that 5B, if we go over that with the powder, it will just go darker. Even in here, because we're going to have to show some shape, we're going to have to show some kind of that this is just not a blob with fur. You can see some shadows and shapes of the face in here and in the ear as well. So you've even got to shadow your white spaces. Now this powder doesn't go as deep as the 5B does. I think it's only similar to that of a 3B. So you are limited in the depth it can add, but it does help to just quickly fill in a space and define an area. So now back in with mono eraser. I might use the larger one as well, especially in the tail. Let's start in the eye. There we go. As always, the most important part. Okay, I'm going to switch to this one. So white fur in general is going to be difficult to create contrast for. It's just one of those kind of things we as graphite artists just have to contend with and deal with. So sketching anything with white fur will be slightly a bit more of a challenge, but that's why I quite like doing this lemur, because it's got obviously the dark rings and the mask around the eye that just helps define the animal even more. Which makes it so much easier. So as you can see there, if I take the light away a bit, it's looking lemur-ish. So this is just an H pencil. I'm just gonna define some of the shadows within our little white areas and next to it. Just to add more difference and a different kind of value to the drawing again. You can also use this H pencil in your whiter areas to just add some definition as well. And it's also a very useful pencil to just add some flyaways. Didn't bring much definition to the hands, but to me I'm not that worried about it. There we go. Just my mono eraser again. And this just, it's a lot less kind of stiff than the rectangle one. Can add a lot more flowing lines to it. So I'm quite pleased with the way that's looking. I'm just going to take my 5B again, just to add in some depth more back into our darker rings. Already added that depth to the eyes, and you can even add it back in here under the shoulder. There we go. I'm quite pleased. You can obviously faff around more with this, but this is all just for quick kind of purposes, not meant to take too long, too much of your time, and just play around. With your stuff. So I'm quite happy with this little cute little lemur. I very much think this would be a very, very fun tutorial to do. Properly. So yeah, let me know down in the comments if there's anything you'd like to see next. Totally do that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one. You can obviously faff around more with it if you'd like. But yeah, that's our little lemur. There you can see a bit of the depth more because of all the reflections and stuff. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this one, and I will see you next time. Cheers!